I keep trying to smell this candle and I forget that I didn't actually add any scent into it. Not that I burn candles anyway, I just put them out and look at them. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this really beautiful ombre candle as well as some other really easy gift ideas that people are actually going to want. I mean, hopefully I like them. If you happen to miss out on my most recent videos, I'm going to link my dollar store art supply video as well as these sparkle scratch art and DIY holiday cards. I'll link both of those in the description box below. Also, if you're not yet a part of the SoCraftastic family and you want to become a crafty cat, I think we finally have a family name. What do you guys think? All you have to do is click that red subscribe button below and turn notifications on so you never miss a new video here. I post every single Friday and Sunday. You guys, look at my cactus snow globe. It's so pretty. Getting on my nerves, tree. You're making too much noise like the cars outside. What are you? Oh my gosh, I love when cars have the reindeer antlers and the nose, the red nose. I really wanted to get one for my car and I totally forgot I need to make a note. Yes, I'm that tacky. No, I don't care. But now without further ado, let's get on into the DIYs. For the first gift idea, I'm going to show you how to turn someone's favorite chocolate bar or candy bar into something a little bit more personalized and unique. I mean, you probably don't want to do this with Butterfingers or Snickers, but for something like a Hershey's bar, cookies and cream, this candy cane one for instance, just go ahead, open up the candy bar, break it into small pieces, and put it in some sort of container that you can microwave in, such as a glass measuring cup with a spout like this one, or just a paper cup. Other options are to use chocolate chips or candy melts. Along with the chocolate, you'll also need a mold in the shape of your choice. I'm using a silicone mold from one of the cutest YouTubers, Nerdy Nummies, anyone? It has little pixel hearts, dinos, and this adorable little cookie guy. Wash the mold with soap and water before using it, of course, and make sure it's completely dry because water is chocolate's mortal enemy. Seriously, they don't get along. It just makes very weird things happen. I melted the candy in the microwave for about 15 seconds at a time and I stirred in between. Now all that's left to do is pour the melted chocolate into each little compartment of the mold here. I noticed that the Hershey bar melted a lot better for me than the candy melts and chocolate chips. Possibly because these are really old and I just saved them from my last crafts. I'm not actually going to eat the candy melt ones because it's literally pure sugar and it's just way too much. So I'm just doing these pink and blue ones for fun to show you guys that you can do colorful ones. You could also get plain white chocolate and use a non-water based food dye. But yeah, see, the candy melts are not as liquidy. It's very hard to get them in, but I did manage. They cool a lot more quickly than the Hershey's. Fast forward a little bit, I'm going to pop them out onto the plate here. And I did forget to mention, this is kind of a duh statement, but make sure your hands are washed and super clean before doing this. And you may even want to use gloves if you're doing it for your extended family members instead of like your boyfriend or girlfriend. So I did put this in the refrigerator to harden, but then I left it on the counter for a couple hours before popping them out here. So that's why it looked like I was struggling a little bit. Just the heat from my fingertips was melting them a little bit and making it harder. So I did pop this into the freezer for maybe a half hour or so, and now I am doing some really smooth pop outs here, as you can see. After this clip here, I wanted to get one more on the plain white tabletop, so I removed the tablecloth and put it on the chair. Leo actually jumped up into it and onto the chair and it just fell off here, so that's what this footage is. If you want to give them as a gift, maybe put them in a mason jar and fill that up with them. You can put them in color order or something like that, or you can leave them out at a holiday party or, you know, any time of the year, a birthday party, and just put them in a little container. Moving on to the ombre candle. I'm pretty excited for this one. I know a lot of you guys here on my channel enjoy candle DIYs. A long time ago on my channel I did a crayon candle. I know a lot of professional candle makers tell you not to use crayons to color your wax because it can clog the wick. I've never had issues with it doing that because I use such a small amount of crayon and I stick with Crayola, so it's not like super waxy or anything. But if you do use crayon instead of candle colorant, then you're doing it at your own risk because I don't guarantee that it's going to burn well for you depending on the brand and how much you use. So moving on, I have this pot of water boiling and I'm going to use this candle melting pitcher that I got from Michael's a while ago, back when I did the cupcake candles, I think. So anyway, I'm putting that in there to heat up, and I have cut one of those wax cubes in half. Now there are certain types of wax you can buy that you can microwave if you want this to go more quickly, if you're in a rush. So definitely look for those if you want to make this quicker, because wax does tend to take kind of a while to melt on the stove like this. Once that is completely melted and has liquefied like this, let it cool off just a little bit. You can do a test on the side of the pitcher here. Once you start to see it turn opaque a tiny bit, that's when you want to rush to get the scent and or color into it. If you do accidentally wait too long and it starts to harden again too much, you can put it back into the water for just a few seconds and it should melt again right away. So I'm mixing the colorant completely in, and then I'm going to test the color by using a white paper plate and a napkin. I think on the paper plate it shows the true color a little bit more, so I would recommend that over the paper towel, but they both are okay options. Dip the wick into the hot melted wax, and then you're going to press that firmly to the bottom of the candle jar. I'm starting with the darkest shade of blue first, so my ombre is going to go from dark to light. I just poured that in, and you can also move the wick back to the center if it does get kind of off kilter. Now move on to a slightly lighter color of blue. I like that you don't have to actually wipe out the container for this. Just put another half wax cube or full one in, depending on the size of your jar and how big of a chunk of ombre you want. Melt that again and add some colorant, but just not as much this time, and of course test it on the paper towel and or plate. Now I thought that this was only going to be a tiny bit lighter, but after pouring it into the jar I realized that it was way too much of a step. At least that's what I thought at the time. I was very bummed out. I was thinking about remelting the candle and starting over, but I decided to carry on and move on to the next color of blue, which is a little bit lighter. So on the bottom layers you can probably see that the wax has separated a tiny bit from the glass when I was pouring it in. It's kind of like an air bubble. The way that I found to solve this and make it look a little better is to pour really slowly. I think I poured too quickly and it didn't have time to spread before hardening. I don't know, but it definitely worked better when I poured more slowly. And you can see I am trying to hold the wick in the middle like this until the wax sets up. So I did hold it there for maybe a minute or two, and then I melted the next color, which is basically just plain white. Once the candle cooled for a couple hours, I moved it to another room. It hardened. I changed my mind about it. I think it looks really cool now, even though the brightest blue isn't a really big chunk in the candle. And yeah, you also saw here that I cut the wick to be shorter, which I had totally forgotten to do in the intro, so if you go back and watch that, you'll see that it's still long there. Also, I saw that someone asked where Leo was in my last video. He just kind of decides when he wants to be curious and see what I'm doing. He was probably napping when I filmed that one, I don't know. But he's back today, as you can see. He's very interested in this tree. Let me know if you guys want to see more candle DIYs in the future. I also just created a new playlist for all my past candle tutorials, so if you're interested, check it out. But getting back into this video, let's move on to the third DIY, which is a donut mouse pad. For this, I'm using a thin sheet of cork, and with this plate here, I'm going to trace a circle on with a Sharpie marker. That step is optional, but I find it helpful just in case the plate were to move halfway into cutting it with the box cutter here. So I do like to have that marker line down just in case. And if you don't have an X-Acto knife or some sort of blade, you could probably use scissors, but that's probably the last option I would choose. Also, be very careful not to cut through to your desk. So you should have something under it like a cutting mat, or just be very aware when you're getting near to the bottom. Okay, so now once that circle is cut out, I'm going to put the plate on a piece of white cardstock paper, trace around that, and then I cut that out with a pair of scissors. I am measuring with a ruler to put a dot in the middle so I can find the center. And here I have a baby food jar. Actually, it's from when my mom and I did the baby food challenge a couple years ago, a year and a half, I don't know. I can link that below if you want to watch. It was a lot of fun. But I kept all the glass jars because they do come in handy for random things sometimes, like tracing this little circle into the middle. Then I drew some wavy frosting lines on the inner circle and around the outer edges. I'm using a Crayola watercolor paint set, and I'm going to make my frosting a dark pinky color. Now I will say that using cardstock with watercolor paints was not my brightest idea. It's very hard to blend the paint. It kind of just soaks right in, and it doesn't really move around as freely as it does on watercolor paper, but I wanted this to be smooth for the mouse pad and not have any texture, so it's kind of a trade-off. And I did feel like paint would look a little bit nicer than marker. I tried to do a little bit of shading, so around the edges I made it darker and tried to make it fade, too light in the middle. I wasn't 100% able to pull that off, but I am pretty happy with the way that it looks. The texture is pretty cool. And here for the dough color of the donut, I mixed yellow orange, yellow, and brown with a ton of water to make it less saturated. By the way, a random pet peeve of mine is that so many people spell donut, donut, D-O, nut. Why? Why has it been shortened to that? Even though that's what I'm putting in the title, because that's how most people spell it and that's how it'll get searched. But why did we take the dough out? It doesn't make any sense to me. What's one of your like weird random pet peeves? The final thing I'm doing is painting some sprinkles with acrylic paint. I chose to do white, yellow, and an aqua teal color. You can choose any colors you want. You can do 10, you can do 1, it doesn't really matter. And the final thing to finish off your donut mouse pad is to apply a generous coat of Mod Podge all over the cork. Smooth it out the best that you can, and then grab the donut image and you want to smooth it over and flatten it out as best as you possibly can. It might seem like it's not going to stick and that the paper is popping off, but trust me, after you flip it upside down and put some heavy items on top, then leave it sit for at least 20 minutes, you'll come back and you'll find that it has stuck down really nicely. Now normally I would have put another layer of Mod Podge over this just to seal in the image, but for video time's sake, so I can get this uploaded today, I haven't done that yet. And also I do want to continue to put weight on it and make it flat for hours, maybe like overnight. So yeah, this is what it turned out like, minus the top coat of Mod Podge. I think it's absolutely adorable. Kind of reminds me of Homer Simpson. Most people love food, so it's perfect. But if it's not your style, I did do a video a while back on kind of like 70s style room decor. So there's also this record mouse pad idea. It's made mostly the same way, but if you want to see the video, I will link it below. This last gift idea is really, really easy. Something I could never figure out in like cartoons and movies is why people got so upset when they would get socks for Christmas. I love, love, love getting socks for Christmas, my birthday, like any time of the year. Usually the more colorful, the better. I like wearing random crazy socks around the house especially. So here I'm just going to protect my lovely tie-dye fabric. I didn't actually make that one, it's just a piece of fleece. This is only for filming purposes. I would recommend that you guys use a giant garbage bag or some shopping bags like the plastic Target bags or whatever, but just so you guys can see the tie-dye through, I wanted to do this. Also, you may notice that these bottles of tie-dye look really, really old. That's because they are. I've saved these from my past projects. They really recommend that you only keep tie-dye for like 24 or 48 hours and then get rid of it because the pigment does fade over time, but I didn't want to put it to waste, so I'm gonna just do the demonstration with this. And honestly, I have used really old tie-dye before on shirts. It really doesn't make too much of a difference from what I can see. So I started with yellow, orange, pink, a light purple, light blue, and lime green. And once you do get one side of the socks completely covered with color, you'll want to clean up the area around if there's any drips of dye. Once that is cleaned up, flip the socks over, and this way you won't ruin any of the color that's already on there. So then just follow the same blocks of color that you did and fill in the back of the fabric of the socks. Now you'll want to put those in some sort of bag and let them sit at least 8 hours, but the longer you let them sit, the more vivid the colors will probably become. I put them in a Ziploc bag and I actually let them sit 2 nights because I was doing a lot of filming for other videos. So finally now I am rinsing them out. You want to get out as much color as you can, and then after that you'll put them in the washer and then the dryer, and they'll be all ready to wear. Here's what they looked like after washing and drying. The color definitely does fade, especially the yellow, but I think that the rest of the colors are actually really nice and vivid, and I love the way that they fade into each other. I hope that you guys enjoyed these gift ideas. Let me know in the comment section below which one is your absolute favorite, and also if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know and to help support my YouTube channel. I hope to see you back here on Sunday for a brand new video, and again next Friday. If you haven't seen these videos, by the way, click them. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!